Part 28. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luzi Y. Chapter 271. Seeing that they didn't speak, Chi Ping thought they didn't believe it, so he opened his mouth and praised him gushingly, and even told how the ancient doctor on the transport ship had used a few needles to bring people back to life and bring people with only one breath back from the edge of death. How can a few magical pills be taken to heal wounds quickly, and even those with broken spinal bones can be restored, and they can walk like normal people again after 15 days? After a lot of criticism, the main theme is that ancient doctors are great and awesome. Ancient doctors can even snatch the dead back from the hands of death, and there is no problem in curing a scrappy. But Lao Qin got colder and colder the more he heard it, and his heart dropped. The Muyuan Star Master's level of medicine was so powerful. Can other people cure itching with the medicine she gave? Bai Chenjun's eyes lit up when he heard this. Yes, you can invite ancient doctors to come. This is her planet. Now our people have contracted such a strange itchy disease on her planet. How can we say that she has a certain degree of it? It's her responsibility, but it doesn't make sense to come and take a look, so I'll send someone to ask her over right away. Wait a minute, Lao Tan quickly shouted. If the ancient doctor comes, wouldn't it mean that they self-destruct on their own initiative? Although they are blowing themselves up by posting the news about recruiting doctors, it is different from actively inviting people to come over. The former can also save face, and both parties have a tacit understanding, but if you invite people over, it will not only blow yourself up, but also admit defeat. Hey, it means that these two people were assigned by the old man, otherwise why would they bother to spend so much effort on treating them and just let them fend for themselves or just destroy their bodies and wipe out all traces? Until now, the other people who were exploring the Star Lord's mansion have not shown up. It is likely that some of them have been abandoned. Bai Chenjun looked at him suspiciously. What's wrong, old Ten? Lao Qin raised his lips and explained, I have to report this matter to our second young master. After all, the other party is the master of Muyuan Star. It is obviously inappropriate to trouble her to treat an unknown person, in case she offends someone. Oh, what you said makes sense, then let's ask Uncle Ziyu first. Surprisingly, Shui Ziyu readily agreed, but he did not come forward and let Bai Chenjun do it for him. Perhaps when he posted the notice naming Bai Chenjun as the person in charge, he had already planned to blame Bai Chenjun. Mizu Sawagaku, as long as I don't show suspicion, you can't follow me. It's a very quick and dirty approach, but it's the best way to get the best of both worlds and divert attention. Bai Chenjun had no choice but to take the job and go to Muyuan Star Master. Bai Qianchun, who had thought that no one would come to her even if she was itching to death, had now followed Yechin to the back mountain valley. In the originally green and empty valley, countless domestic animals were now running all over the mountains and plains. Fortunately, everyone had the foresight to make fences to separate various livestock. Chickens and ducks such as reed chickens, silky chickens, and cherry valley ducks were placed on the lawn near the river. Some aggressive cattle like Jinka cattle are raised in caves near the foot of the mountain. As for Sanhua cattle, they need to produce milk and be milked every day. They specially built a cattle pen near the water to raise them. Sanhua cattle are expensive and difficult to raise. They must be carefully raised, so they are treated better than other livestock. There is also a group of sheep beasts. This kind of domestic animal is also a treasure. Not only can the long wool be shaved off to knit sweaters and other cold-proof clothes, but also wool blankets and other high-end goods that the upper class likes. The key is that the mutton is also very delicious. The lamb roast is a must-have. Nongui and the others mentioned before that the roasted whole sheep on Huana planet is a specialty of their planet, which shows the deliciousness of this sheep beast. The livestock that Shen Shenxiang got for them happened to be mature enough to be slaughtered for meat. There were both males and females, and they could continue to reproduce and produce cubs. From this point of view, Shen Shenxiang is quite sensible. If it were for some cunning people, they might take advantage of the loopholes and do some small tricks, such as castration, so that they can no longer reproduce, which is equivalent to giving them a batch of dead materials, which is not sustainable. The kind of development. But fortunately she didn't do that, otherwise Bai Qianchun would have continued to chat with her. Bai Qianchun stood in the middle of the valley with a relaxed look and looked around. The chickens, ducks, rabbits, and cattle were running happily, and they were happily gnawing on the grass. There was no sign of the wilting look that Yechin told her when she first got off the transport ship. Son. It can be seen that the valley of Muyuan Star is very popular with these chickens, ducks, and cows. Yechin also looked at the old face and smiled brightly like chrysanthemums. With this batch of livestock, the star citizens will not have to worry about not having enough meat in the future. Then he touched the rabbit's furry head and put it into the rabbit's territory. He watched it jump and rub together with 3 other furry rabbits that were eating grass near the nest, forming 4 big white balls. He turned to look at Bai Qianchun aside, and asked seriously, "Does Star Master have any plans for the next step?" The 20-day picking and sightseeing tour is almost over, and the next step is to lock the star in seclusion and start internal development. Star Master, where do you want to start? Bai Qianchun frowned and thought, probably engaged in construction, planting, making pills, etc., and also needed to build a porcelain bottle production line. This porcelain bottle is really not durable, and the batch of porcelain bottles bought from Yao Guangxing has been used. 1/3. Fen Yuyu, who was standing behind Bai Qianchun, glanced at her fair face in profile and suggested before she gathered her thoughts and spoke, "Maybe you can consider recruiting people. There are too few star citizens and Wuyuan Star is big. Even if there are robots to help, but there are still too few young and strong people who can do things, especially the lack of armed guards. The wood origin star tree is very attractable, even if it is the origin star, there is no guarantee that some desperate star thieves will come and steal things." After hearing this, Yechin nodded again and again, "Yes, yes, defense and protection are very important. Not only is it needed on Wuyuan Star, Star Master, you also need a strong personal guard team. Several of our Star Masters on Wuyuan Star are here. They were killed by star thieves during the space voyage because the guards around them were not strong enough." Thinking of this, Yechin had a worried look on his face. If a Star Master like Wang Ziyi dies, he will die. He clapped his hands and cheered when he died, but now this Star Master has made him see the glorious dawn of Muyuan Star. Yes, we can't let anything happen to those plagued star thieves again. Their Muyuan Star can no longer bear the torment. So he was very concerned about Bai Qianchun's life safety. Having said this, Bai Qianchun also felt that it made sense. "Okay, let's recruit people first. I will post an announcement recruiting star citizens on our star website later." Speaking of this, Bai Qianchun also remembered another thing. "Grandpa Qin, didn't you say that there are still a group of star citizens on Tuyuan planet? Isn't there any news about them yet? I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs." Author, Lanshan Luzi. Chapter 272. This Yechin's brows furrowed on his originally cheerful face, and he hesitated to speak, but finally said it. "They met a shady boss on Tuyuan planet, and they asked for leave more than half a month ago. The black boss kept them busy and refused to let them go. They resigned a few days ago and the black boss refused to pay them wages, so they stayed there to beg for their wages." Black boss, Bai Qianchun also frowned. There has been no shortage of such people since ancient times, so she asked with concern, "Who is the black boss? How is the situation now? What is the salary? Will you come back without asking for it? It is said that it is a seafood farm under the Shui group. It is the property of the Duke Shui family. The black boss is also named Shui." Speaking of this, Yechin's old face immediately became wrinkled. This matter is really difficult to handle, and the Shui family is not easy to offend. The Shui family, one of the four great dukes, is the family with the deepest and oldest foundation in the Huayao Empire besides the Sheng family. The most important thing is that it is still standing and has prosperous descendants. People with the surname Shui can be found on almost every planet, and their power is expanding. It's evident how big it is. Mu Yuan Xing, which they had just started, was like a mantis holding a chariot and an egg hitting a rock, unable to compete with it at all. Even though the Black Boss might just be a minion of the Shui family, he is still something worth noting. Bai Qianchun's dark eyes narrowed, her red lips whispered, Shui family. She also knew something about this Shui family, and of course she dreamed about it in her dreams. The power of the Shui family is intertwined and the system is extremely large, but there are many more internal struggles than ordinary families. The dispute over the property of the heirs of the Li family that was spied on the shaking star was quite exciting, but compared to the Shui family to say that is totally pedantic. If it weren't for Shui Chongshan, the old head of the Shui family, his sons would have torn the Shui family apart. Of course, she didn't know much about Shui Kongshan's sons. The only one who had a deep impression was Shui Yingxin, the daughter of the fourth son, Mizusawa Akira. The reason why Shui Yingxin was deeply impressed by her was because she was the childhood sweetheart of the imperial prince Liu Yuchen. She had been close to Liu Yuchen since childhood and was the first person Liu Yuchen would think of when he needed a dance partner for a banquet. Bai Qianchun didn't know much about her personality. She only knew that Shui Yingxin attracted a lot of attention every time she appeared at a banquet. Not only did she have good looks and a good family background, she was also close to the prince of the empire. The upper-class nobles were spreading rumors that she would be the future crown princess of the empire or even the empress, therefore she has unlimited fame and is the center of attention every time she appears. This is the envy of Bai Qianchun, a helpless person who has no title but no title and no title of little lord and lady. One of them. It's a pity that Shui Yingxin's beauty disappeared when Liu Yuchen died. It was said that she was too sad and sick. She didn't show up at the banquet until Bai Qianchun died. Bai Qianchun once lamented her infatuation. The other Shui family member is Shui Ziyu. Fen Yuyu mentioned to her before that Shui Ziyu, the old cucumber painted green, wanted to marry that juicy girl from Puyi as his stepwife, not because he liked the girl's beauty. He went there for the Pu family's property, which shows how shameless Shui Ziyu is. And she also knew that he came to Muiyuan Star and sent people to sneak into the Star Lord's mansion to monitor her 2 days ago. She was not blind to the careless notice recruiting doctors, but the most important thing was Bai Qian. What was pure surprise was that he actually mixed up with Bai Qianjun. However, Bai Qianchun didn't think that idiot Bai Qianjun had the ability to make friends with Shui Ziyu. The most likely reason was that the old fox Bai Zhuangquan and Shui Ziyu were on the line. It can be seen that Bai Zhuangquan's means are not low, and through the dream, Bai Qianchun never dared to underestimate Bai Zhuangquan's ability and means. He made friends with various big people and tied them up with means and interests. He could even give away his own daughter as a plaything. For example, Bai Rujuan. This is the most skilled and effective method used by Bai Zhuangquan. This is also one of the reasons why Bai Qianchun decisively left the main star to develop on Jupiter. It was because there was no one behind her who was not strong enough. Even if she relied on the support of the people to take back the Duke Bai's mansion and become a duke, it would be useless. Bai Zhuangquan's methods were endless. The stakeholders behind Bai Zhuangquan will also help Bai Zhuangquan take action against her for their common interests. Bai Qianchun can use poison to kill 1, 2, or even 10 or hundreds with strength, but there are too many interests involved behind the scenes, and there will always be times when she is outnumbered. Back to the topic, it is actually easiest to resolve the issue of the evil boss of the Shui family with Shui Ziyu. These days, Shui Ziyu has been sending people to buy pills and collect them from the star citizens at high prices. as long as she uses the pills through the back door. The transaction believes that Mizusawayu will soon help her solve this black boss matter. But Bai Qianchun didn't want to do this. She really didn't like Mizusawayu. Do you want me to help? Fen Yuyu looked at her fair face in profile, the corners of her mouth slightly raised, and her voice sounded low and sweet. Bai Qianchun turned her head and raised an eyebrow at Fen Yuyu's smiling peach blossom eyes. Can you intervene? The power of the Shui family is not small. If you intervene, it won't have any counter effects, right? Fen Yuyu's smile stuck at the corner of his mouth and he looked at her dissatisfied. I'm such a stupid person. Besides, I'm just a member of the Shui family stationed on Tuyuan planet. I can tell at a glance that I'm not valued. I'm just casual. Just give him a few words and he'll be obedient and pay his wages. Bai Qianchun was suspicious. Is it really possible? Fen Yuyi said with a smile, it will definitely work. Even if it doesn't work, it has to work. In order to express the determination of a man not to say no, Fen Yuyi immediately sent a message to Yao Wengxian, adding the person in charge of the Feng group who was currently on Tuyuan planet, and asked him to come forward and beat the people on the aquatic products side. After the arrangements were made, Fen Yuyi raised his chin towards Bai Qianchun, raised his lips and said, okay, the news has been sent out, just wait, this matter will be resolved soon. Seeing his confident look, Bai Qianchun felt relieved, and Yechin's wrinkled face also relaxed. But what they didn't expect was that the news came so quickly. After almost 5 minutes, the person in charge of the Feng family stationed on the Tuyuan planet called back a communication, but the result of the news was not theirs. Want? I heard the loud voice from the other side yell out, little sir, that old boy from the Shui family is so stubborn that he insists that I'm pretending to pass on the imperial edict. His grandma's bear recently happened to compete with that old boy for a store. The old boy was very wary of me. He didn't even let me finish my words before he asked his more than 10 powerful bodyguards to beat me. Okay, I defeated 8 of them by myself, but it's really hard for me to defeat 4 of them with just 2 fists. Hiss, young sir, why don't you wait a little longer until I go back and gather 180 brothers to flatten his house before I follow him? Can he convey your request carefully? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luziy. Chapter 273. Bai Qianchun. Oh, the person in charge on Tuyuan planet is quite wild, and he even destroys other people's homes. She glanced at Fen Yuyu's face. Is this what he said would be solved quickly? Fen Yuyu's face suddenly turned dark, and he said to the person opposite him with a smile, is it enough to flatten the door of his house? How about blowing up his house directly? The person in charge on the other side slapped his thigh and said, young master, you have the courage. I will go to the warehouse immediately to move the energy cannon and directly destroy his house. Bai Qianchun couldn't help but laugh. Will he really not be caught for doing this? Aren't there any restrictions on the laws and regulations on Tuyuan planet? And are all the people in your Feng clan so powerful? Everyone in the warehouse is equipped with an energy cannon? Do you plan to carry it out for a fight at any time? Fen Yuyi grimaced, saying that he had been ridiculed. He didn't know about it at all. The person in charge must have made the decision to hide the energy cannon in the warehouse. As for whether you will be arrested for using high-energy weapons to destroy other people's houses, of course you will. The Hua family clings to Tuyuan Star, and governs Tuyuan Star properly. The laws, regulations, and rules are as good as those of the main star. They are no less or even finer. People who use energy weapons to blow up people's houses like this are caught. After living, I will definitely have to go through the miserable tears in my eyes. Here, Fen Yuyu suppressed the thought of beating up the reckless man across from him. Just when he was about to speak, he heard the loud voice from the opposite side rang out with surprise. Is this voice the young lady? Oh my god, the voice is really loud. It sounds great. Just by listening to this voice, you can tell that the young lady has a beautiful voice and a sweet face that matches our young master. Don't worry, young lady, I will definitely beat the black-hearted capitalist of the Shui family and let him pay the wages of the star citizens of your family, young lady. If that old boy still dares to delay, I will tell his wife about his lover. His mother-in-law is a powerful tigress. If she gets ruthless, she can directly destroy the black-hearted capitalist and make him never come back. Can't taste the taste of a woman, that old boy will definitely not dare to be disobedient. Are they worthy of each other? Fen Yuyu felt inexplicably comfortable, his anger disappeared, and he secretly glanced at the girl next to him. Even the person in charge who has never met them said this, are they really such a good match? Fen Yuyu felt sweet in his heart, but nodded solemnly on his face. He felt that there was a saying that made sense, the eyes of the masses were sharp. In fact, after so many days, he is not a fool. He has also thought about his emotions, and it is certain that he has thoughts about this woman Bai Jianchun. Otherwise, I can't explain my abnormal behavior these days. I help this woman weed, plant, and pick herbs in the middle of the night. I watch over her wholeheartedly, help her wash the herbs, burn the fire and make the balls. I don't like the men who come close to her, and I like to compete with these men. For example, none of this can be explained by just pretending to be a couple. In his normal habits, he wouldn't be rushing to do such thankless and dirty work, and he can't make money. Fen Yuyu has never liked anyone before, so he doesn't know the extent of his thoughts. He only knows that he is not unhappy that she cheated him of money, and he is not really angry when she pins him to the washstand. She wants to use him. The transport ship did not take it seriously, but wanted to cooperate with her and give her better. Thinking of this, Fen Yuyu couldn't help but curl up the corners of his mouth. Bai Jianchun was smiling at the person on the other side of the communication line and said, "Then I'll trouble you." The person in charge chuckled and said, "No trouble, no trouble, the young lady's business is our business. By the way, if there is anything you can do to the young madam, can you please help me to beg for mercy, so that the young master can provide us with more energy?" Stone, the sales on Yuan Star have been good recently, but they are out of stock. Although selling various energy stones can last for 3 years after opening, we can't just think about eating them. We also have to save money to find a wife. Our employees also I want to make money, buy a house, and marry a beautiful wife. Just like the young master, my wife will be on the hotbed, and my life will be wonderful. This Bai Jianchun was amused by the person in charge's harsh accent, and the corners of her mouth were raised and she never lowered them. However, it was a bit difficult for her to plead with Fen Yuyu. This resource allocation and energy stone mobilization is a matter of internal operation and control of the Feng group. Even if she is the real MRS Feng, it is difficult for her to interfere, not to mention that she is just a fake. Fen Yuyu looked at her embarrassed expression, and the corners of his mouth curled up even higher. He couldn't bear her embarrassment for a moment, so he took the initiative to say, "Okay, as long as you get things done, the transport ship will arrive at Yuan planet next month. Go up." The voice of the person in charge on the opposite side became louder and louder with excitement. "Great, thank you, young master, thank you, madam. Don't worry, I guarantee that this matter will be handled properly." After finishing speaking, he politely said not to hang up the communication and went to work in a hurry. Bai Jianchun raised his eyebrows and asked hesitantly, "He's not really going to blow up someone's house, is he?" Fen Yuyu's lips curled up and he was in a good mood. "Don't worry about him. As long as the matter is settled, it doesn't matter if he goes to jail for a few years. I will still pay him his salary after he comes out." Bai Jian-chun, you are such a good boss. Bai Jian-chun, who didn't know how to complain, twitched the corner of her mouth twice and quickly returned to normal. Forget it, she would not interfere in the matter between their boss and the workers. That night, before the news of the unscrupulous capitalist's unpaid wages came back, the news that the person in charge was treated as a mistress and sent to the Earth Security Bureau for destroying the relationship between husband and wife came first. However, Bai Jian-chun didn't know it from Fengyue Yao Wengxian's mouth, but from Yang Huazhi's mouth. Ever since Du Li brought Huazhi over for dinner that day, the relationship between Yang and Huazhi Menxiu has grown by leaps and bounds. These days, whenever Yang doesn't work, he hangs out with him. Bai Jian-chun looked at Yang and the other 5 people who were eating skewers opposite, so he wasn't arrested and sent to the security station for blowing up someone else's house. Ah, I haven't heard of this. Yang turned to look at Huazhi beside him blankly. Do you know? Huazhi took a bite of meat skewers and nodded. It is said that when he found the mistress, he was indeed carrying an energy cannon, but it was misfired or rusty. It cannot be defined as a real crime. It is difficult to establish this crime, so there is no such thing. Mention it more. Oh, Bai Jian-chun's expression was a bit fantasy. He had promised to blow up someone's house but failed to do so. Instead, he was caught as a mistress. What kind of bizarre and dramatic misunderstanding happened in the middle? Bai Jian-chun is really curious. Fengyu's face was as dark as water, and his brows were knitted into knots. Isn't there anyone else under the Feng group? Send such a fool to be the person in charge of Tuyuan Star. It's a miracle that the Tuyuan Star branch is still running smoothly and making a good profit. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luzi. Chapter 274. Mengxiu, a person who didn't take it too seriously to watch the excitement, saw that everyone was interested, and immediately rolled his eyes and started to ask his friends on the Tuyuan Star to inquire. Don't mention it, the old saying that birds of a feather flock together is true. Some of Mengxiu's friends also love gossip and like to watch the excitement like Mengxiu. Not only did he just send out the message, one of his friends behind him replied. He said he happened to know about it and was already eating it. Upon hearing that Mengxiu wanted to inquire about this matter, his friend immediately came over with a smile and took the melon to share it with him. It turns out that the person in charge of the Feng group on Tuyuan Star was named Xiong Cai. After hanging up the communication with Fengyue, Xiong Cai immediately summoned his men and proudly took out the energy cannon that was placed in the warehouse as a mascot. He planned to go to the black-hearted capitalist named Shui to regain his position. However, Xiong Cai thought that he was a civilized and polite person and would not just come up and do it like those uncouth people, so he first asked his brothers to hide in a distance while he went to find the mother of the black-hearted capitalist. Tiger talked about her husband cheating on her and having a pretty little lover outside, and planned to be polite first and then fight. But this politeness turned out to be a problem. After Xiong Cai came in and told the tigress about the matter, he originally planned to wait for the tigress to go to the black-hearted capitalist to settle the score, and then he would expose the old boy. The arrears of wages caused his reputation to fall and he had to pay back the wages owed to his employees. But Xiong Cai never expected that although the tigress was furious on the spot after hearing about this, she did not deal with the black-hearted old boy as he expected. Instead, she chose another way of revenge. The tigress he immediately cursed, since you are raising a lover outside, then I will also raise a lover, and no one will suffer. So Xiong Cai, a male creature that was very close to her, was unlucky enough to be targeted by her and became her first lover choice. According to the person involved, Xiong Cai, a big man like him was so frightened that he was forced into a corner by the tigress and trembled. At that moment, the black-hearted old boy came back, grabbed him and raped him in the corner. And he took the initiative and called the police covertly in advance. Xiong Cai almost cried on the spot. The 600-pound fat man raised his head and shouted that he was wronged. He wanted to be talented and good-looking, so how could he not think about being a lover? Wouldn't he be good as his first wife? Not to mention that the tigress is not good-looking at all, and her body is thicker than him. It's a good thing that he doesn't have a wife. If he had a wife, it would be fine. Even if this thing is false, he would still be panicked. If he has a bigger temper, he can divorce him. The more he thought about it, the more he felt aggrieved, and the more he thought about it, the more he felt that he couldn't let the black-hearted old boy bite him back, so when his head got hot, he took out the energy cannon and planned to execute Plan 2 and bombard his house. However, the energy cannon was kept in the warehouse as a mascot for many years, and it became rusty and misfired. Xiong Cai and other brothers agreed that the unscrupulous merchant who sold it to them must have deceived them and sold them a substandard one. This is also the reason why Xiong Cai was not considered a threat to public security after he was caught. But Xiong Cai and a group of brothers quit. At that time, they sent a message to the unscrupulous merchant who sold them the energy cannon and demanded compensation for the fake products. But the unscrupulous merchant was really evil. Not only was he not ashamed of selling fake products, after understanding the cause and effect, he said that Xiong had to thank him, otherwise if the energy cannon was real this time, he would have to sit through the jail. Xiong Cai and the surrounding guards said, "What you said makes sense," but they couldn't refute it. The friend who shared this piece of melon is one of the trainee guards. He is sitting in the lobby of the security bureau with his ears pricked up, eating melon with his seniors and watching the fun, watching Xiong Cai bargaining with the black-hearted businessman opposite, and it is said that he shouted at the top of his voice. The loud noise was so loud that the guards on the night shift had no work to do and were amused by the loud voice. As for the outside, the guards also gave Xiong Cai, a poor big taxpayer, a favor by not spreading the news about the misfire of the energy cannon, so the news spread that Xiong Cai had been arrested as a mistress for destroying the relationship between husband and wife. As for why Xiong Cai was arrested and sent to the security bureau even though he was a mistress, it was because of the public security regulations of Tuyuan planet. The laws and regulations were really complete, careful, and humane. They also care about the situation of being a mistress like this. Anyone who is a mistress, regardless of whether it is a male or a female mistress, is treated equally and must be taken to the security bureau for 3 hours of ideological and moral education. Finally, there is a record. If you are caught a second or third time, the punishment will gradually increase. Xiong Cai's male mistress case has not yet been established. He is still under investigation and has another chance to defend himself. After hearing the whole story, Bai Qianchun couldn't help but twitch the corner of her mouth. I have to say that the person in charge, Xiong Cai, is really unlucky and really funny. Bai Qianchun didn't sympathize with him at all, but found it funny. Then she suddenly thought, since the laws and regulations on Tuyuan planet are so complete and even govern the affairs of male mistresses, why don't they care about the arrears of wages? I don't care, of course I don't care about this matter. Hua Zhe pursed his oily mouth and said seriously. This is an issue related to the external image of their Tuyuan star, but they cannot be careless at all. So he hurriedly explained, after the incident of Xiong Kainan's mistress, we learned about the causes and consequences of his being regarded as a mistress, and also investigated the matter of arrears of wages. Those star citizens of Muyuan planet were owed wages. I also reported the case after I was paid, but the guard was bribed by the Shui family and kept perfunctory with the Muyuan Xinming people and did not take any action, so no one has ever held the Shui family accountable. It was precisely because this matter related to the people of Muyuan Star that Hua Zhe took it out in front of Bai Qianchun after getting the news, and then he continued. Now we have dealt with the bribed guard, fired him and dealt with the crime. He will be brought to court later. As for the Shui family, the Security Bureau has also issued a warning in the name of Tu Yuanxing. I believe the Shui family will pay the arrears of wages soon. In addition, the Shui family has already come up with a compensation amount to be paid to the star citizens of Muyuan planet. As for other punishments, they will have to wait for the court to decide. Oh, that's good. Bai Qianchun was quite satisfied with the handling. Tu Yuanxing was still doing things neatly. On the other hand, Xian Ke actually caused so many troubles and even put himself in the security guard. It's a game, it's also very funny. After listening to the whole story, Fen Yuyu was in a much worse mood than Bai Qianchun. He didn't find it interesting. He just felt that he had been slapped in the face and his face was swollen. In the first instance, he told Bai Qianchun that he would definitely be able to handle the issue of wage arrears, but in the second instance, that guy Xiong Cai gave him a hard time. Didn't this prove that he was not good enough? I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luziy. Chapter 275. Bai Qianchun almost turned black when he looked at Fen Yuyu's evil handsome face. After all, for the sake of Bai Qiang's conscientious work these days, he didn't add insult to injury to him at this time, but looked at Hua Qianchun. Zhe continued to ask, it seems that the people of the Shui family are not short of money, so why are they still delaying their wages and making things difficult for the people of Muyuan planet? Hua Zhe glanced to the side. This is probably because the Shui family fell in love with a girl named Yeshue, but Yeshue didn't agree, so they planned to use their salary to force her to submit. What? That bitch actually wants to take advantage of my second sister Ye Yang, who was happily eating barbecue skewers, immediately stood up and became angry, staring at Hua Zhe with blazing eyes. What did you just do? Why didn't you tell me? Hua Zhe spread his hands and said that he was also innocent. Isn't that a matter of privacy for this girl? Besides, I don't know that she is your second sister. Assuming that this kid explained it well, Ye Yang snorted, then why do you say it now? Hua Zhe, because the person who asked me is also a girl. Ye Yang. Bai Qianchun frowned, feeling that it was because Mu Yuanxing was not strong enough and no one took her seriously, so even the minions of the Shui family dared to blatantly plot to bully her. The star citizens of Muyuanxing were now the top priority. The best policy is to develop Muyuan star. Otherwise, this is the first time that the wage arrears have happened, and it may happen again in the future. Beside the bonfire, the flames crackled, and Bai Qianchun's mood sank like Fen Yuyu's, and her narrowed pair of thick black eyes disappeared with the light of the fire. Ye Yang on the side was still chattering with Hua Zhe and Meng Xiu. He wanted to fly to Tu Yuan Star and beat up the bitch who coveted his second sister, but was stopped by Hua Zhe. Let's go there. Just beating someone up is not worth it. Meng Xiu, who was nearby, said in a brotherly manner that he was here to help find someone to teach that bitch a lesson. Meng Xiu has friends all over the world, and he knows everyone from all walks of life. It is easy to find a few friends who can beat people up. After making sure to have 3 meals a day and planning a spree of beating people with sacks for 30 days, Ye Yang calmed down. Let's talk about flying over and hitting people again. Then he took out a bottle of large healing elixir that had not yet been sold and handed it over as payment. Meng Xiu pushed it back and said repeatedly, no, no, how dare you accept it? I'm just talking about it. This bottle of big healing pill is too precious, you should keep it and sell it for money. Although he really wanted this big healing pill, talking about money now would hurt his feelings. We are all good brothers, how could he receive such a precious reward? But if he paid for it himself, he didn't know what price to set it at. If it was too high, he would definitely not accept it based on his understanding of Ye Yang. If it was too low, he wouldn't be embarrassed, because Ye Yang's family is relatively small. Being poor, selling to others is obviously more profitable than selling to him, so even though Ye Yang has a lot of pills on his body these days, he and Hua Zhe have not asked to buy them from him, and can only follow the others to rush to buy them fully armed. But they were unlucky and never succeeded. Hey. Bai Qianchun noticed his sigh, raised her eyes and looked over. Insight flashed in her beautiful dark eyes. Do you want to buy pills? Ah, Hua Zhemenxiu looked over subconsciously, then looked left and right. After confirming that they were the only two here, they looked at each other, swallowed and nodded quickly. Buy, I really want to buy it. After saying that, the two of them looked at Bai Qianchun eagerly, wondering in their hearts what she meant. Could it be that their luck was about to come? Bai Qianchun curled her lips and smiled. I happen to have 2 batches of meatballs here that I rolled myself. I originally planned to add 2 rounds of sales tomorrow, but now I have changed my mind and opened the door for you in advance. Do you want to buy them? Hua Zhemenxiu's eyes suddenly lit up and he insisted, buy. How can I not buy it? When Hua Zhe's old mother and father heard about such a magical pill, they had already urged him to buy it. The old mother was interested in beauty pills and whitening pills, and the old father was interested in a great treatment. Then, he would send messages 2 or 3 times a day to ask how his progress was, and would also text him to cheer him up or scold him. You are such a loser. You are not like me at all. You can't even grab a deal from others, something like that. In the past few days, their chat records have been more than in the past month. As for Mengxiu, the situation is better. His father has always loved him, and even on ordinary days, he often sends some caring words such as wearing more clothes when the weather is cold. As for his mother, who is usually a gentle person, she became obsessed with beauty pills and whitening pills after hearing about them. She changed her previous gentleness and sent a message asking him to grab things. Even his own father couldn't resist it. Mengxiu felt that his status was gradually declining. Now after the two of them heard the good news, they immediately beamed with joy. They didn't even eat the kebabs and hurriedly came over to make a deal. They were afraid that she would regret it if it was too late. They would only feel at ease after buying the pills and putting them in their pockets. Other tourists who came to participate in the barbecue buffet not far away were so envious that their teeth were sore when they saw the scene of transferring money with one hand and handing pills with the other. The barbecue was no longer fragrant. Some people even came over to ask if they could open the door for them in advance, but they were quickly answered by Yayangs. What contribution have you made to Muyuan Star? What help have you given to the Lord of Muyuan Star? Are you a friend of Muyuan? Seeing people, he asked 3 times in a row and was sprayed back. Shui Ziyu, who also hadn't grabbed a pill for several days, almost chattered his teeth when he heard the news. What made him most angry was that the idiot from the Shui family made a mistake and allowed the Hua family to take advantage of him and make friends with him. It is really hateful to kill Muyuan Star Master. Moreover, the idiot on Tuyuan planet was still under his elder brother, which made Mizu Sawayu even more angry. Sure enough, his eldest brother was the one he hated the most. Uncle Ziyu, what's wrong with you? Looking at Shui Ziyu's ugly and sinister look, Bai Chenjun shrank his neck. Mizu Sawayu turned to look at him, his eyes becoming more gloomy and terrifying in the darkness. The Muyuan Star Lord you have been looking for all afternoon is in the village now. You go find her and ask her to treat her with a reward of 100 million, and then you apologize to her and say that you sent those 2 people to the Star Lord's mansion, and use your methods to seduce women to seduce her, and only if you please her can we buy the pills. Huh, Bai Chenjun looked confused. He didn't know what was happening over the bonfire at the moment, and he was stunned when he heard Shui Ziyu's words. What 2 people he sent to the Star Lord's mansion had nothing to do with him, why should he take the blame? And who will pay for the additional 100 million? Him. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lan Shan Lu Zy. Chapter 276. Bai Chenjun was filled with resentment. He felt that Uncle Ziyu was too busy and he didn't know what to do. Not only did he want to help White Wolf pay for it, but he also asked him to seduce the Muyuan Star Lord. This was treating him like a fool. What about the cowherd in the shop who pleases women? And who is the husband of Muyuan Star Master? The famous young Master Feng, a ruthless man with a vicious tongue and a dark heart. He has a lot of capital behind him. If he is caught seducing someone else's wife, he might be a young Master Feng. He was so angry that he could be killed in a matter of minutes, and he still had no one to talk to, so his death would be in vain. Thinking of this ending, Bai Chenjun couldn't help but shake his body. He felt that Shui Ziyu was so embarrassed that he pushed him out to jack up the tank and wanted to kill him. No, this must not be done. Mizusawa Yu looked at him with gloomy eyes, and saw the resistance on his face. He couldn't help but feel angry in his heart, and secretly spat, "This idiot can't stand up to the stage." His voice was suppressed and Shen cursed angrily, "I'm asking you to please and seduce her, but I'm not asking you to seduce her. As long as you can please her, she can open the back door and let us buy first like the two boys from Huazhe just take pills. What stupid things are you thinking in your pig's head? Anyone with a discerning eye knows that you and Fen Yu are the same in heaven and earth. Who would think of choosing you? I would be so stupid to let you compete with Fen Yu. Person. Bai Chenjun was a little embarrassed. Oh, so that's it? But he was still reluctant. Even if he wasn't really asked to hook up with someone, it still meant that he would be blamed and taken advantage of. He had never done anything so wronged. But Bai Chenjun, a dandy who only knew how to pick up girls, play games and bully others, could not resist the coercion of Shui Ziyu, so he brought Bai Ruling to the bonfire in the square tremblingly. "Gu, ancient medicine star master," Bai Chenjun shouted cautiously as he looked at the person sitting on the vine stool next to the campfire. The jumping orange-red firelight shone on her delicate porcelain white face, creating a dazzling glow. The brilliance made her porcelain white and soft little face seem to have a little divinity, as if it overlapped with a figure in his memory under the setting sun. "What's the matter?" Bai Qianchun suppressed the smile on her face, raised her head with a cold expression, and looked at Bai Chenjun with a pair of indifferent, dark eyes that held a hint of chill. "Have we met somewhere?" Bai Chenjun's eyes fell on her face infatuatedly, staring straight at her. He answered the question incorrectly, forgetting all the serious things Shui Ziyu told him, and then opened his mouth and said he came out bald. This sentence directly caused everyone who was enjoying the barbecue just now to stop, and one or two of them shot at him with eyes like knives. Fen Yuyu's face was ugly, and his peach blossom eyes narrowed dangerously. Does this pretty boy want to seduce his wife? How brave! Ya Yang, why do cats and dogs covet his sister Chun? Bai Chenjun doesn't want that bitch with his dog eyes, but he dares to look at his sister Chun with such eyes. Mengziu Huazhe, wow, what a cliched way to strike up a conversation. Bai Qianchun raised her eyebrows, but she felt that what he said seemed to be true. Bai Qianchun grew up in Duke Bai's mansion, and she and Bai Chenjun were childhood sweethearts. After more than a year of training, she became Bai Qianchun's body has grown taller, developed, and her complexion has improved, but her facial features have remained the same. It was not surprising that Bai Chenjun could find something familiar on her face. But Bai Qianchun would not admit it, and others obviously would not believe Bai Chenjun's words. Only Bai Ruling, who came with Bai Chenjun, subconsciously glanced around Bai Qianchun's face, feeling surprised in her heart. She originally thought that Bai Chenjun was just looking for sex, and couldn't control his nature when he saw the soul of Muyuan Star Lord fly away. But now, she felt that Muyuan Star Lord's face was a bit familiar. They seemed to have seen it somewhere. Bai Qianchun's dark and indifferent eyes glanced at her coldly, then returned to Bai Chenjun's face, and said coldly, "Don't say any polite words, just tell me why you're here." Bai Chenjun panicked, I didn't say polite words, He opened his mouth, but finally closed it under Fenyuyu's eyes that were as sharp as knives staring at him, and then said the words Shwizawayu told him tremblingly. People had to bow their heads under the eaves, but Shwizawayu couldn't turn his back. He could only take the blame as he wanted, and then offered her 200 million as a reward to treat the two scrapies. Bai Qianchun frowned, with a disdainful smile leaking from the corner of her mouth. She was playing monkey tricks. Shwizawayu pushed Bai Qianchun out to be the scapegoat. Did she think she was not smart? She raised the corner of her mouth and looked at Bai Qianchun with unknown meaning in her eyes. If it's not cured, you, the one who takes the blame, can't be the master of those two people. Let the real master behind those two people come to me in person. Hearing her answer, Bai Qianchun was not angry but happy, and felt excited. This Muyuan Star Lord was indeed bright-eyed and kind-hearted. Knowing that he was innocent, his favorability suddenly increased exponentially. Then his heart began to wander, and he began to feel sorry for her. How could such a beautiful and smart girl marry a man with a vicious tongue and a dark heart like Fenyuyu? Brother, sensing that Lord Feng's eyes were getting more and more dangerous, Bai Ruling felt her scalp numb and quickly pulled Bai Qianchun's sleeve and shouted softly. I secretly hate that this stupid guy doesn't know how to look at the situation and can be carefree at any time. Is the wife of young Lord Feng something he can covet? He still stares at his wife in front of young Lord Feng. Is he dissatisfied with himself? Life is too long. If she didn't have to rely on this idiot for protection now, she wouldn't bother to care. Bai Qianchun quickly came to his senses and said to Bai Qianchun in a flattering manner, I will contact Uncle Ziyu right away. Good guy, this will directly expose the person behind it. Bai Qianchun was speechless after hearing this. This was really stupid. Fenyuyu was embarrassed to stare at him with the vigilance of his love rival anymore. Such a fool was not worthy of being his love rival. There was no chance of success at all. Possibility. 10 minutes later, Shwizayu came over with a dark face. He first glared viciously at the stupid Bai Qianchun who was still standing by the bonfire and laughed, and then turned to the woman beside the bonfire. When his eyes touched that beautiful face, Mizusawa's eyes flashed, and he felt even more annoyed. A few days ago, he couldn't see clearly the true appearance of the Star Master of Muyuan Star while wearing a mask, but now he was absolutely stunning when he saw it. I didn't expect that her face would look so beautiful after taking off the mask. He should have thought of it a long time ago. How could Fenyuyu's flamboyant temperament and his uncompromising temperament marry an ugly person? He only wished that Fenyuyu had acted quickly, otherwise this beautiful woman would have been his. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luziy. Chapter 277. Shwizayu's eyes were filled with filthy salivation, even dirtier and thicker than Bai Qianchun's just now, which made Fenyuyu's face darken again and again. Bai Qianchun also frowned and put down the skewers in his hands. He was so disgusted by Mizusawayu's eyes that he couldn't eat any more. She felt a little regretful, maybe she shouldn't have let him come. Fenyuyu stood up with a sinister look on his face, his tall and straight figure shrouding Bai Qianchun in his shadow, and he faced Shwizayu directly. At this moment, he stared at Shwizawa with a pair of peach blossom eyes as dark as ink, and said coldly, I don't think you want those dog eyes anymore. It just so happens that I want to talk to your old man tonight about the one on Linky Wangxing project. I'm afraid it's inappropriate for the Shui family to cooperate with the Feng group, because their second son has a dirty mind, and his dirty eyes are particularly disgusting. If the old man can send me these eyes to Pong, go ahead, maybe I can consider cooperating with the eldest young master of the Shui family to develop 07 wild stars. I believe that even if your old man doesn't agree, your eldest brother will be willing to send your pair of eyes to me. Mizusawayu's face turned pale, and his heart sank deeply. What is called snake hitting 7 inches is Fenyuyu's move. In just a few words, he hit on what he feared the most. He knew that the 07 Desolate Star project was the most important thing for his father this year. He was also trying to cooperate with the Fen group recently. If Fen Yu, this kid, if he really told his old man this, even if his old man didn't want to let his son go out, he would still have a grudge against him for losing this project. Moreover, Fen Yu is involved with his eldest brother again. Who doesn't know that he and his eldest brother are currently in the stage of fighting for power in the Shui family? If his eldest brother finds out about this matter, he will definitely be like Fen Yu. The boy said that he would gouge out his eyes to achieve cooperation. This gave him a legitimate reason. His eldest brother had used a fig leaf to block the mouths of the uncles and the old man in the Shui family. And his eldest brother is in charge of the military. It is simply a simple thing to gouge out his eyes. Mizusawa Yu felt a chill running down his spine. Looking at Fen Yu across from him, he felt as if he was seeing a devil. This kid was even more poisonous than a year ago and could poke at people's weaknesses. He even poked him 7 inches to the point where he had to give in. In the end, Mizusawa Yu could only bite his silver teeth, lower his posture and apologize with red eyes. Fen Yu was still dissatisfied. She looked at him with gloomy eyes and said in a low voice, "You shouldn't apologize to me, you should apologize to my wife." As he spoke, he stepped aside, revealing Bai Jianchun, who was blocked by him behind him. Mizusawa Yu's face was extremely ugly, but he had endured it just now and it was not bad this time, so he bent down deeply and bowed 90 degrees to apologize. Bai Jianchun raised her hand and made a gesture, "Stop, there's no need to apologize. Even if you're willing to make a show, I won't be happy to see the apology you don't want to be forced to do. Let's get down to business. Why are you here this time? In order to treat your 2 scrappy men, right? I happen to have 2 pills here that are specially designed to treat various scrappy diseases. They can cure itchiness no matter what the disease is. I used a lot of precious medicinal materials to make it. You are lucky, I just happened to have enough medicinal materials to get a few pills out recently. You can buy them back and give them to eat, take one tonight and they will be fine tomorrow morning. Because you just offended me, I can't discount these 2 pills, so let's pay them at the original price. 1 pill is 200 million, and 2 pills is 400 million. 400 million, why don't you go and grab it?" Mizusawa Yu's eyes widened and he exclaimed. His eyes were fixed on the woman by the bonfire. No matter how beautiful she was, she could not hide the fact that she was trying to trick him. Bai Jianchun sneered, her long eyelashes raised, and a layer of black shadow fell on her eyelids, making her dark eyes even darker and mysterious. "Well, are you ready to buy it?" Fen Yu looked over with a dangerous look, and Shuizawa Yu suddenly turned pale and ugly as if he had swallowed a fly. Word after word came out from between his teeth, "Buy, buy." What else could he do if he didn't buy it? The threatening look in Fen Yu's boy's eyes was clearly in front of him. He didn't dare not to buy it. With this boy's fearless and unreasonable energy, if he didn't lose a lot of money tonight, he would buy it. Those 2 pills, this kid is destined to cause more trouble for him tomorrow. Bai Jianchun gave Fen Yu an appreciative look. This man was quite useful at critical moments. Compared to Shui Ziyu's complexion, which alternated between green and white, and was extremely distorted, the melon eaters around him were so happy to eat melons, especially Bai Chenjun, whose expressions of joy almost overflowed. Yes, let him take the blame for this matter and make him pay the bill. Cool. Bai Chenjun was happily scolding him secretly when he saw the person being scolded turn towards him with a pair of sinister eyes, staring at him with hatred and malice. "You pay the Star Master." "What?" Bai Chenjun pointed at his nose in confusion. "I pay the bill." Mizusawa Yu looked at him irritably. "It's not you or who else, I don't have that much liquidity in my hand, so you should take care of it first." Bai Chenjun thought in his mind at that time, will he still be able to pay back the advance payment? He paid for the breakfast, lunch, and dinner in the past few days. Did Shui Ziyu say when will he pay him back? No. However, due to Shui Ziyu's identity, Bai Chenjun did not dare to turn against him. He forced a smile and said, "I'm sorry, Uncle Ziyu, I don't have that much liquidity. Didn't I disobey my father before, to please my fiancée, so my father deducted my pocket money, and now I only have 1 million left. How about I give you 1 million in advance?" Mizusawayu looked ugly. He was just sending a beggar. 1 million compared to 400 million was just a drop in the bucket. But he glanced at Fenyuyu, who was standing in front of him, and Wuyuan Star Master, who was looking at the show with a playful face. He gritted his teeth and dialed the messages of several friends and gave away a few good things he had collected. After selling it at the highest price, they pieced together 400 million and transferred it to Bai Jianchun. Looking at the 2 dark pills he bought for 400 million lying in the palm of his hand, Mizusawayu felt that his heart was bleeding. Those things on sale were all good things. Those bullies, he took advantage of the situation and lowered the price to the lowest possible price, thus losing a few of his goodies in vain. If he had known, even if it aroused the old man's suspicion and disgust, he would have dealt with the 2 troublesome tickles and never exposed them, otherwise there would be no such humiliation and rape tonight. But it's too late now. When Bai Chenjun comes with his instructions tonight, he will have no chance to regret it. He suppressed his anger and handed the 2 pills he bought at an exorbitant price to his subordinate Lao Tan. "Take them back and give them to those 2 people. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs." Author, Lanshan Luziy. Chapter 278. After Shui Ziyu waved his hands and left, Bai Chenjun also led Bai Ruling out of the village square and into the small woods on the side. In the small woods, Bai Chenjun looked around for a few times. When he saw that there was no one else around, and the hustle and bustle was far away from them, he took a breath and finally couldn't hold back his words and cursed, "Damn, I didn't expect that. He can't even come up with 400 million. What do you think our father thinks and why I bother to fawn over him? Even if I want to fawn over, I have to fawn over the eldest young master of the Shui family. Obviously, the eldest young master has a better chance of winning. If I hadn't been smart just now, I might have asked him to steal 400 million with nothing. What the second young master of the Shui family. By the way, did you see that he glanced at me before he left? He looked as sinister as if he was caught by a poisonous snake. Do you think he had a grudge against me?" Bai Chenjun frowned, his expression gloomy and ugly, and he was a little scared. Suddenly realizing something was wrong, he turned to look at Bai Ruling beside him, his brows straightened up, and he stretched out his hand to push her in a bad mood. "Hey, Bai Ruling, did you hear me talking to you? I'm deaf. It will be useless if she is deaf. My Bai family does not want a useless and disabled daughter." Bai Ruling was staggered by his big hand that showed no mercy. She quickly came back to her senses, stabilized her body, and subconsciously raised a smile on her face to please, "Brother, I didn't mean it, I was just thinking about something is going wrong." Bai Chenjun looked at her displeased, "What is more important than listening to me?" Bai Ruling noticed his anger, but instead of coaxing him as before, she suddenly asked with uneasiness, "Brother, where did you say Bai Jianchun went?" Bai Jianchun. Bai Chenjun's face straightened immediately, his brows furrowed, and his tone was sarcastic, "Why are you mentioning her? It's bad luck." Bai Ruling's eyes flickered, "I just think that the Muyuan Star Master's eyebrows are very similar to hers." "Brother, do you think this Muyuan Star Master could be her?" Bai Chenjun directly denied it without thinking, "Impossible, are you kidding me? That damn girl Bai Jianchun has been timid since she was a child. She has the guts of a mouse. Her face is pretty good, but her body is shriveled and thin. Look at this Muyuan Star Master again. He is stunningly beautiful and so powerful that even Mizusawayu dares to cheat him. Moreover, he is much taller than that damn girl. No matter how much he develops, it is impossible for a person to grow that tall in 1 year. More. And that damn girl Bai Jianchun didn't learn many words or read many books in the Duke's palace, let alone know other things. My father wouldn't give her the chance to learn at all. Look at that Mu Yun Lord Star, your medical skills are amazing, and your ability to make pharmaceuticals is even more powerful and magical. Can you learn this in a year or two? Those pharmacist masters who have been famous for a long time are not at her level. Do you think that dead girl Bai Jianchun is here? Can you learn like this in a year? The more Bai Jianchun talked, the more it made sense. Although he had thought that the face of Mu Yuan Star Lord seemed a bit familiar before, after Bai Ruling pointed it out, he suddenly realized that it did look a bit like that dead girl Bai Jianchun, but he quickly denied it. This guess. Regardless of their charm or innate aura, Mu Yuan Star Master and that dead girl Bai Jianchun don't look like the same person. Mu Yuan Star Master is more like an heir trained by the top nobles. Bai Ruling looked at him. It turned out that he also knew that her father was deliberately suppressing Bai Jianchun. Her eyes flashed and she asked in a joking tone, "Brother, didn't you say you would marry Bai Jianchun before? Wouldn't it be better to directly take over the Duke's palace in an upright and justifiable manner?" Although Bai Zhuangquan is also surnamed Bai, he is a distant relative of Duke Bai, because Duke Bai's family has a good family tradition, does not have many children, and has almost no side branches. It has been the same lineage for hundreds of years. They were supported by single inheritance, so their blood relationship has become very estranged after so many years, and intermarriage doesn't matter much. Bai Chenjun's eyes wandered slightly and he glared at her angrily. "I was just joking when I was young. How could she, a useless waste, be worthy of me? My fiancée should be one of those noble girls from aristocratic families. Don't mention this in the future. It's a matter of fact, that little girl Bai Jianchun looks so shriveled that I don't like it at all." As if recalling Bai Jianchun in his memory, he shook his body in disgust. Oh, Bai Ruling snorted inwardly. He was joking at such a young age. He was clearly motivated by sex. Bai Jianchun was really good looking when he was a child. It's not surprising that Bai Chenjun, a pervert, fell in love with her in the first place. But later, because her real mother was not a good person, she intentionally deprived Bai Jianchun of food, making her malnourished and unable to keep up with her physical development. Naturally, the longer she grew, the shriveled up she became. Bai Chenjun, a dead child, couldn't stand it anymore. Look at what he looks like now. He must have regarded those words as a lifelong shame and didn't want to mention them. Brother, where do you think Bai Jianchun will escape to? No matter where the bitch is, our father is still looking for her secretly. It doesn't matter if the bitch dies outside, but don't lose the title as well. My father is planning to transfer the title to himself. He has been almost ready in the past few years, and when he catches that bitch and agrees to the transfer of the title, I will also be a justifiable little Lord Bai. Bai Chenjun's arrogant voice gradually faded away, and two people walked out from behind the tree shadow. The petite one among them was Bai Jianchun, the real owner who Bai Chenjun and Bai Ruling were discussing just now. Fen Yuya followed Bai Jianchun, his eyes particularly bright and sharp in the darkness. He followed the direction Bai Chenjun left, his eyes dark. This boy is worthy of being picky and disdainful of his wife. Oh, you boy, wash your neck and wait for me. Then he quickly lowered his eyes, suppressed the fierce glare in his eyes, and turned his head to look at the people standing aside. He was also a little curious about why the malnourished and illiterate Bai Jianchun who was deliberately raised became Bai Jianchun, who is so outstanding and dazzling yet mysterious. What, are there flowers on my face? Bai Jianchun asked, raising her eyebrows when she noticed his gaze. Her little porcelain face still had a glimmer of white even though she was in the dark woods. At this time, her soft, palm-sized face had neither an angry expression nor a smile, and she seemed to have no emotion. The way it fluctuates. But Fenyuyu was still a little worried. Hearing this, he quickly shook his head and said sincerely, "There are no flowers, but they will shine." Bai Jian-chun, do you think she is a lamp? Fenyuyu coughed uncomfortably, moved his eyes away and changed the subject. Do you need my help with Bai Zhuangquan? It's not easy for him to get the title from you. As the four great dukes of the Feng family, one of them has the right to interfere with this unfair duke succession. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luziy. Chapter 279. Bai Jian-chun chuckled and glanced at him. No, Bai Jian-chun said he needs my consent to hand over the title of duke. If he can't find me, he will never be able to hand over the title. Fenyuyu thought so, and then said with a smile, then if your identity is discovered in the future and you are taken back, remember that you still have another identity. My wife, Fenyuyu, cannot be manipulated by that bitch Bai Zhuangquan. Yes, Bai Jian-chun smiled. This was exactly what she meant by not getting divorced, to give herself an extra layer of security. It seemed that this man was also happy to lend her this identity. Looking at her smiling face, Fenyuyu seemed to be encouraged. The corners of his mouth curved up and he continued to ask, do you want to take back the Duke's palace? Bai Jian-chun took 2 steps toward the path in the woods, looked at the shadows of the surrounding trees, and answered casually, of course. Fenyuyu clenched his fists, stretched out his long legs to follow, and then a low and seductive voice spoke in the darkness, well, I know some things about Bai Zhuangquan, the main star Duke's mansion and all the industries related to the White Duke's mansion. As the acting Duke, he already had them in his hands. He is very smart and shrewd. These properties either went bankrupt or closed down in his hands, and the funds were secretly transferred to the company properties under his own name. From then on, he has nothing to do with the White Duke Palace. He was originally loyal to your father. A lot of those people left with these bankruptcies. It can be said that if you take back the title of Duke and the White Duke Palace, you can only get an empty shell and the empty title of Duke. Bai Jian-chun had already prepared for this, and it was like this in the dream. Even though Bai Jian-chun regained the title from Bai Zhuangquan with the help of the people and became the only duchess, there was nothing she could get. To some extent, it is just an empty Duke's palace. It looks like a good-looking product, but in fact it has no assets. Even the dilapidated companies and industries managed by Bai Zhuangquan are still paying for it. Fenyuyu carefully turned his head to look at her face. Seeing that she was not disappointed or sad, he was relieved and continued, the only thing you can still fight for is the 9th Legion belonging to the White Duke. The Legion needs military merit and strong strength. He has courage and command ability. Although Bai Zhuangquan is smart, his foundation is still shallow. He himself has no military talent in this area, so it is not easy to control Duke Bai's 9th Legion. Although many people have been supported by him to join the 9th Army over the years, replacing some of the people who were originally loyal to the White Duke, and controlling some of the say in the top management of the 9th Army, as long as Marshal Dirong is around, he will never be able to complete control of the 9th Legion. Bai Jian-chun moved her mouth to ask who Marshal Dirong was, but Fenyuyu quickly started to introduce him to her. Marshal Dirong was your father's sworn brother. He was the only one of your father's most trusted confidants who is still alive. After your father died that year, the 9th Legion was leaderless, so he took over your father's position and became the 9th Legion. The Marshal of the Legion is temporarily in charge of the 9th Legion. Because of his presence, Bai Zhuangquan has not swallowed the 9th Legion into his pocket. However, Marshal Dirong came from a civilian background and did not have much financial resources to support him. Therefore, although he was in charge of the Ninth Army, he was not able to fully control the Ninth Army. The operation of an army cannot be separated from logistics, and logistics is huge. Marshal de Rong cannot provide financial and material support, and he does not have the brains and wealth of my brother-in-law Huo Quancheng, so he can only cooperate with Bai Zhuangquan, who provides logistical resources. So now in the Ninth Army, de Rong and Bai Zhuangquan complement each other. But as long as de Rong still exists, Bai Zhuangquan will not be able to fully control the Ninth Army. Yeah, Bai Jianchun nodded. She really didn't know about these internal affairs of the Legion. But even if Feng Yuyu didn't say anything, her initial plan was to start with the Ninth Legion. Another thing she knew from the dream was that she didn't have much time left for her. Although Bai Zhuangquan was kicked out of the Duke's palace in the dream, he took complete control of the Ninth Legion a few years later, making Bai Jianchun completely. She became a bright duchess. If it is true that Marshal de Rong is loyal as Feng Yuyu said, then it means that he will have an accident in a few years, or the worst guess is that Marshal de Rong has rebelled. However, the love-minded Bai Jianchun had no memory of this in the dream, so there was no way to judge what happened to Marshal de Rong. One of them talked and the other listened. After walking most of the way from the woods back to the Star Lord's mansion, the person who was talking didn't feel thirsty at all. He was talking with great interest. The more he talked, the happier he was. The person who was listening also listened. Be extra serious and get the information you want. However, the two of them still failed to return to the Star Lord's mansion smoothly in the end. They were intercepted by a communication as soon as they reached the halfway point. Bai Jianchun led Feng Yuyu and ran all the way to Mi Zhu's small courtyard. When he walked in, he said excitedly, "Jianzhan, you said that your ball-making robot is ready for trial. Can you start now?" In Mi Zhu's small courtyard, Mi Zhu, Cao Ting's grandfather and grandson, and brothers Jianzhan were all there. Next to Jianzhan is a human tall white shell robot with a square head and a mechanical body. Its appearance is featureless, even simpler and more monotonous than ordinary nanny robots. The only exception is that its hands from wrists to fingers look like they are two real hands. This is a pair of biosimulated human hands that Jianzhan specially made in order to ensure that the properties of the medicinal materials inside would not be destroyed when the balls were formed. It can be said that he was very thoughtful and saved a lot of money. Although it looked a bit strange, Bai Jianchun felt that this design couldn't be better after hearing that just installing such a pair of biologically simulated human hands could save hundreds of thousands in cost. At this stage, what she wants is not beauty, but practicality. Jianzhan is completely consistent with this. Bai Jianchun praised the robot, but Feng Yuyu, who was following him, muttered dissatisfiedly in his heart, "What's so good about this? He can make a better one, and the whole robot can be upgraded to a higher level. Biosimulated leather looks just like a real person." Although she has never made a real robot, Feng Yuyu has fully mastered the theoretical knowledge and is very confident in herself. But after taking a look at the satisfied smile on Bai Jianchun's face, he pursed his lips and remained silent. Cao Jia came over happily, boss, we have arranged all the herbs according to Mr. Jianzhan's request, and we can start the robot's ball-making experiment." Bai Jianchun raised her eyebrows, smiled and nodded seriously, "Okay, let's get started. The first step should be to make whitening pills. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs." Author, Lanshan Luzi. Chapter 280. The light of the origin star fell faintly in Mi Zhu's courtyard. The hustle and bustle coming from the square gradually subsided, the night became darker, and silence rose. However, the Mi Zhu courtyard, filled with the strong scent of medicine, was still hot, and the 5 large pots filled with medicinal liquid were still glowing with blazing fire. In full swing of work. There were 5 large pots, one for Bai Jianchun and Feng Yuyu, one for Mi Zhu, and one for Cao Ting. After these days of training, Cao Gia was able to make simple whitening pills and beauty elixirs independently, so she also took one for herself. When making whitening pills, the last bite naturally belongs to the pill-making robot made by Jian. Wash the herbs, identify the herbs, pinch and gradually add various herbs into the pot, and wait for the juice to collect. The meatball making robot has completed the previous steps perfectly, and is now in the final step of making the meatballs. A small ball gradually took shape under the robot's artificial hands, and was finally placed into a bowl aside with a clang sound. Hey, it's done. This meatball making robot does a really good job. Look, the meatballs are round and even in size. They are almost the same as the meatballs made by Sister Chun. Yang was rubbing his hands and wandering behind the meatball making robot, stretching his neck to look into the bowl. He, Leng Xiao and Du Le came here after finishing the barbecue work in the village, and they happened to get a job lighting the fire. Hearing this, Bai Qianchun also came over to take a look, picked up the first ball that had been rolled by the ball-making robot, smelled it, and identified the smell of the medicine. It was confirmed that it was a whitening pill. She raised her lips with satisfaction, and then her eyes fell on the meatball-making robot's simulator hands that were constantly and flexibly rubbing meatballs. Although the speed was a little slower than hers, it was faster than Cao Gia, who had just started independent work next door. Doubled. In the final process of rolling the balls, it is difficult for Cao Gia to judge the weight with the naked eye. She also needs to use a weighing scale. However, for the robot, it is the best weighing rod, so each ball can be weighed without weighing it. The weight of the pills is exactly the same. If this is done by humans, it will take at least 1 or 2 years to become proficient in it before they can directly control the weight with the naked eye. The innate advantage of robots perfectly overcomes this point. The person next door chose to make whitening pills, and Cao Gia, who was trying to compare with the robot, stretched her neck to take a look, and immediately felt that she had lost. She had been learning for several days, but she was not as good as a robot she tried for the first time. Tears came to my eyes, and I suddenly doubted the meaning of learning how to make meatballs. Don't worry, robots can't take your job. Bai Qianchun's voice with a chuckle made Cao Gia raise her head in surprise subconsciously, and then her face turned red. It turned out that she had accidentally spoken out what was in her heart. Bai Qianchun smiled reassuringly at her and said, "There are pills that robots can't make. Advanced pills like Vitality Pill can never be replaced by robots unless they also have superpowers." "Yeah, I understand, thank you for the explanation," Boss Cao Gia nodded seriously, clenched her hands into fists, and decided to continue working hard, and strive to graduate as soon as possible to work for the boss and learn to make more advanced pills. However, Cao Ting understood the deeper meaning. He walked up to Bai Qianchun and asked with curiosity in his light voice, "Do the high-end pills you refine require supernatural powers?" Bai Qianchun moved her gaze from Cao Gia to Cao Tiao's expressionless face with serious eyes, and nodded, "That's right." Cao Ting's brows suddenly knitted together, her eyes gradually darkened. "Would type power used?" Bai Qianchun continued to nod. Cao Ting's deep eyes turned resentful. "Does the metal power still have a future?" "Ah!" Bai Qianchun was stunned for a moment, and suddenly she couldn't bear to say it. Cao Ting continued to look at her and asked, "Isn't it?" Bai Qianchun rubbed his fingers. "It's not impossible. Each power has different uses. It's just that for medicine, the healing wood power and light power are more suitable. For metal power, you can create some other new types of pills. In this way, you can learn more about the basics of making pills from me, and after you have a good foundation, you can innovate on your own." Cao Ting nodded thoughtfully. The thin man like a bamboo pole just stood there, his eyes slightly lowered, lost in thought. Just when Bai Qianchun thought he was about to be trapped in his own world and achieve enlightenment, He suddenly raised his eyes and looked at him seriously with dark pupils. I will also worship you as my teacher. Bai Qianshun, who had just moved, immediately put one foot back, looked at him with a pair of beautiful dark eyes, and slightly raised the corners of his mouth. Master Cao Ting has thought it through. After becoming my disciple, you will stay here in the future. My Jupiter planet helped. Cao Ting nodded, opened her mouth and said decisively, I will apply for immigration when I get back. Bai Qianshun was really surprised this time. Could he move so quickly? Although she wanted to abduct him to help him, she didn't want to abduct him and change his household registration. So she quickly waved her hands and said, no, 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 I don't care which planet the apprentice is from, as long as he doesn't spread the word and stays on the Jupiter planet before leaving, I don't care about the rest. Cao Ting shook her head seriously, no, Muyuan planet has more medicinal materials and is more suitable for research, and becoming a star citizen of Muyuan planet is more favorable, right? Bai Qianshun, yes. She couldn't refute it. Everyone had a close relationship. As the Star Master of Muyuan, she would naturally give her star citizens more benefits, and the medicinal materials would definitely be cheaper than those sold outside. Seeing her hesitation, Cao Ting nodded with satisfaction, then I will immigrate, and I will become a star citizen of Muyuan planet. Then he looked at Bai Qianshun and calmly shouted without blinking, Master, are there any procedures required to become a disciple? Bai Qianshun looked at him with a dull face and a calm tone, as if asking have you eaten, and replied seriously, good disciple, no other formalities are required, just verbally acknowledge and sign the master-disciple contract. All right. Cao Ting nodded expressionlessly, okay. The master and the apprentice were very calm here, but the people watching melon eating felt that the impact was a bit big. Just accepted another older disciple? Does it really matter that you two, master and disciple, have such calm expressions? Isn't it embarrassing for the apprentice and master to be young? Bai Qianshun said no. Mizu, who was short and gray-haired, called her master, while Cao Ting was still in his prime. Calling her master with a young and handsome look would have no impact. Cao Jiajia, the granddaughter, is rather embarrassed. Her grandfather calls him Big Brother Master, so doesn't she have to call him Big Brother Master? They are obviously good sisters who can get along with each other as equals, but the boss is 3 generations higher than her in just one glance, which she can't handle. It took a while to line up for the accounting test at night. I will upload one chapter first, but the next chapter will be late, okay.